What's up YouTube, Capital G here, checking out the brand new Gladiator Beast support that has finally been revealed coming out of Chaos Impact. We knew that Glads were getting supports in this booster set because of the promotional displays that Konami had put around Japan. I'm guessing that Arrow Mages will get their cards revealed next week. We know that they are in this booster set as well. And I've looked at all 10 of these GB cards, and honestly, I feel like Konami has done a very good job with the Glad supports. I'm very excited about this stuff, and yeah, I might pick up GBs again because this stuff is kind of spicy. So we got 10 cards, as I said earlier. Let's not dawdle and let's go ahead and start breaking them down. The first monster is Gladiator Beast Sagatari. It's a level 3 win attribute wing beast monster, 1400 attack, 1000 defense. The first effect says if this card is special summoned by the effect of a Glad Beast monster, you can discard one Glad Beast card, draw 2 cards. Second effect is your standard Glad Beast tag out effect. At the end of the battle phase, you can, or if this card battled, you tag it into your deck and then you tag out for a new GB monster that's not another copy of itself. This card is excellent in my opinion, and I feel like this is one of those cards that GBs have been wanting for a while. This is basically Destiny draw built into a Gladiator Beast monster. The only draw power that Glads ever really had was Gladiator Beast Respite, but that made you have a whole bunch of cards in your hand and made you kind of get rid of all of them. This is just a way of just taking any GB monster in your hand that you might not want, getting rid of it, and then trying to draw, other cards, some spells and traps. What I love about this card is number one, first effect, not a hard once per turn, so it kind of feels like these new cards are designed from the GX era too. That means that you could potentially have Grazaris tag into 2 of these bad boys and draw 4 cards in that turn, which is nuts because at that point you're gonna have a solid defense. And really, this card works with some of the old school Gladiator Beast monsters as well, potentially Darius, especially something like Gladiator Beast Quest, where you could tag in for this first, right? Tag this card and then discard something, draw 2, and then you could bring out a quest, and then a quest could add the card that you just discarded back to your hand. So this seems like an excellent start, and this card will probably be played in, it'll at least be played in like one-ofs, but I think maybe even multiples. The second monster is Gladiator Beast Atrix. This is a level 4 Earth attribute Beast Warrior monster, 800 attack and 2000 defense. Its effect says if this card is special summoned by a Gladiator Beast monster, you can send one Gladiator Beast monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard, except another copy of itself. Until the end phase, this card's level and name become that monster's. And then the second effect is obviously just to tag out. Okay, so this is obviously Elemental Hero Prisma, but in the form of an actual Gladiator Beast monster. If you guys don't know why Gladiator Beast ran E-Hero Prisma back in the day and how devastating that play was, which basically defined the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! At that point, is what made Glad's Tier 0. Go watch my World's Strongest Gladiator Beast story, that'll explain everything. But this card seems really good. The only problem is, I don't think you really want to draw this card. I definitely see it opening up a whole lot of potential. Everything from it being able to just drop Bestiary from your deck to the graveyard and copying its name, to the fact that it can even copy the levels. So you can send some of the high level monsters from your extra deck to the grave. You can copy those. Some of the new contact fuse monsters, the ones from Battles of Legends not that long ago, those require like high level monsters. And this definitely feels like a very strong playmaking card for main phase 2. A lot of the Glad Beast monsters require specific monsters. This lets you kind of circumvent that. So this definitely feels like a strong one of. It's just a card that I don't think you ever really want to draw because 800 attack is not really getting it done, but I would definitely want to tag into this. Next up is Gladiator Beast Fastpass. This is a level 7 water sea serpent monster, 2300 attack, 0 defense, hard once per turn on the first effect. That effect says if your Gladiator Beast monster battles a monster at the start of the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. Effect number 2, while this card was special summoned by a Gladiator Beast monster effect in your monster zone, monsters you control gain 500 attack. The third effect is the simple tag itself out for a new Gladiator Beast monster, except another copy of itself. This card is absolutely amazing in my opinion, and honestly I feel like this is just what the doctor ordered. Number one, Glads have always been incredibly normal summon reliant. They've really only had Test Tiger as a way of getting monsters out of their hand without the normal summon. This easily fixes that, and it does it consistently. I mean, all you need is for your opponent to attack into one of your Glads, or for one of your Glads to attack into your opponent's monster. That's going to happen over the the course of a duel. Also, this card special summons itself. It buffs all your monsters, including itself. So basically, anytime it special summons itself of its own effect, it's going to be a 2800 beat stick. It can also tag itself out, and I believe, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I'm probably wrong on this, but since this card special summons itself at the start of the damage step, I do not believe that a replay actually occurs. Let's say your opponent attacks into one of your Glad monsters, you special summon this. I don't think that there's a replay considering it's at the start of the damage step. Like, I can't really think of any monsters or other monsters that special summon themselves at the start of the damage step, so that's kind of weird. But if it does work like that, this card is even more amazing. And honestly, I think I'd probably play like 2 copies of this card, let alone that this card has a new contact fusion that goes along with it. That contact fusion is Gladiator Beast Damatanus, and this is a level 10 Dark Sea Serpent monster. Wow. How many of those even exist in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like Dark Sea Serpent? I feel like this is the first one ever. Anyways, 3500 attack, 1200 defense. Its materials are Gladiator Beast Vespasius plus 2 more Gladiator Beast monsters. Must first be special summoned from the extra deck, or you know what? It's a contact fusion. That's basically what they're saying. First effect is once per turn, when an opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can negate that activation, and if you do, destroy it. Second effect, you can choose the attack targets for your opponent's attacks. Third effect, at the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, you can return it to the extra deck, special summon 1 Gladiator Beast monster from your deck. Okay, so this card is obviously very strong in my opinion. Number 1, you can never have too much negation in Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is a walking Divine Wrath, which is excellent, especially considering that it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to discard cards or banish anything from your graveyard. You just get a free monster negation every single turn, which is good. This card also protects your other Gladiator Beast monsters from battle, because if your opponent tries to attack one of them, you just say, no, you have to attack my 3500 colossal size fusion monster, which I'm pretty sure they're not going to be too happy about that. So basically makes it so your opponent can never attack unless they want to attack this thing. The third effect is the ability to tag out. That's the only gripe with this card that I have. It's the fact that it tags out, but it only tags out for 1 monster. I kind of feel like it should tag out for 2 monsters, and honestly, I think I'd rather just let this thing die than tag it back into my extra deck. And when we get to some of the spells and traps, you guys will understand why. But yeah, that's pretty much the only gripe. I feel like you probably only want to play 1 of this card, because I don't think you'll need multiple copies of it. But yeah, I don't really know if I'd ever tag this back in of my own volition. Next up, we have the new Link monster for Gladiator Beast, which, excuse my French, but this card is so fucking good. It makes you wonder what type of crack they were smoking when they made the really shitty Link monster for Glads, the one from the Link Frames Pack 1. Anyways, this is Test Panther. It's a Link 2 Earth Beast monster, 800 attack. It points bottom left and then straight bottom, which is towards you. 2 monsters, including a Gladiator Beast monster, are what you need to summon it. Its effects are both hard once per turn. First effect says if this card is Link summoned, you can add 1 Gladiator Beast card from your deck to your hand. Second effect is basically Test Tiger. It lets you tag out any of your Glad Beast monsters on field and tag them back into your deck and get a new Glad Beast monster as if they were tagged out by the effect of a Glad Beast monster. This card is just, oh my goodness, it's so good. It makes you wonder why the first Glad Link was so bad. Number 1, when you Link summon this card, it automatically searches for every card in the entire archetype. What archetype doesn't want that? Like, what archetype doesn't want a card that gets you everything? The only card that I think this card can't get is like Gladiator Proving Ground, but outside of that, you can pretty much get anything. The second effect is built-in Test Tiger. It just lets you tag out your Glads for any new Glad monster. That's amazing. I think that this will probably be played in, at least, I think you could probably play like multiple copies of this. I'd probably play like 2 copies of it, because it is fairly easy to summon, and the fact is it pays you back the minute you summon it. You instantly just get whatever you want in your deck, so that's pretty good. We have a Monster Reborn for Gladiator Beast, which this card is also pretty damn good. This is Gladiator Beast Comeback. It's a normal spell. It is not a hard once per turn, surprisingly. It says special summon from your hand or graveyard 1 Gladiator Beast monster with a different type, with a type different from monsters you control, and if you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle. Okay, I think the cannot be destroyed by battle part might be relevant. I'm not sure if it'll be super relevant. I'm sure if it's a grindy game and maybe you're top decking, obviously it might be. But this is just Monster Reborn for Gladiator Beast. And keep in mind, This special summons your fusion monsters as well. That seems incredibly good, but really going into your Link monster and being able to instantly bring that Link monster, like let's just say you go into Test Panther, then you search this card, you summon one of your Glad Beast monsters back, and then you can instantly tag that Glad Beast out for whatever the hell you want. This card is really, really good. Like I think, especially considering it's not a hard once per turn, don't be surprised if they play multiple copies of this card, but this is really good. Next up is their quick play spell, which is basically a fusion card. It says it's a hard once per turn, and you cannot declare attacks except with Gladiator Beast monsters during this turn. During the battle phase, shuffle into your deck from your hand, field, or graveyard fusion materials listed on a Gladiator Beast fusion monster. Then special summon that fusion monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. This card is also crazy good. Yes, I get that it can only be used during the battle phase, but number one, this helps you push for OTK. Number two, it lets you use your freaking graveyard as the materials, which is obviously excellent. And you do have cards like Grizaris that can tag out during the battle phase at the end of the battle phase as well. So this card lets you get more damage, it gives you more utility, and it lets you use your graveyard as a resource, which Gladiator Beasts have been able to do not really so much outside of something like Darius and a Quest. I'm definitely liking this card. I can see people definitely playing this, and it's easily searchable from the Test Panther. Next is a continuous spell called Gladiator Rejection. It's a continuous spell, which second effect is a hard once per turn. First effect, Gladiator Beast monsters you control cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects except during the battle phase. Second effect, if a GB monster is special summoned from your deck, you can special summon from your deck in defense position a GB monster with a different type from the monsters you control. Okay, this is, it feels okay. It basically kind of makes you immune from targeting. I'm not really sure how many relevant targeting during the battle phase cards there are in the format other than things like maybe Impermanence or Widow Anchor. I think the second effect can be quite good if you combine it with Test Panther, because basically if you tag in a GB, you just get the, summon a GB from your deck for free. That can be a nice way, but you do have to kind of tag out first before this card actually kind of pays for itself. So to me, this is probably like a one-off, but I think that Test Panther just makes this card very live, because Test Panther just feels like it makes all of these cards so much better, considering it can search and it can tag out immediately. They have a new trap card, which I absolutely flipping love. This is Mad Gladiator Beast. It is a normal trap that says target face-up cards on the field up to a number of different Gladiator Beast monsters you control, destroy them. This card is amazing. This is just simple removal. It doesn't work with Test Panther, unfortunately. However, as long as you just have like 2 Gladiator Beast monsters on the field, you get to pop any 2 cards your opponent controls. Like, well, who doesn't like removal? I mean, it does have to target face-up cards, but that feels a little inconsequential. To me, Gladiator Beast needed more simple, good defensive cards to have outside of War Chariot, and this definitely fits the bill. I would 100% run this card. This feels like a solid defensive card, and again, it is searchable in the archetype, so it feels really good. Finally, our last card. This is Gladiator Beast Pneumachia. It's a continuous a continuous trap that says while you control a Gladiator Beast monster or monsters, your opponent must attack if able. Second effect, once per turn, you can shuffle 1 GB monster from your hand or graveyard into the deck, then target a GB monster you control. Until the end of this turn, that monster gains attack equal to its original defense. Third effect, if this card in the spell and trap zone is destroyed by a card effect, you can activate this effect for the rest of this turn. GB monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. Okay, so this card feels like it is definitely matchup dependent. If you're playing a deck that likes to brute force its way through things like Thunder Dragon, this card can be pretty good. But if you're playing against a deck very similar to Altergeist or even like Sky Strikers that don't really attack your monsters all that much, this could definitely be a card that isn't all that good. Making your opponent attack if able is, I guess that's kind of cute, but doesn't really feel like it's going to be that big of a deal. The main effect that is good on this card is the kind of giving your monster attack equivalent to its original defense. That could be kind of nice, but again, I feel this card is very, very matchup dependent. Honestly, I'd rather just play the other trap card because it just blows up like face-up cards on my opponent's side of the field, and that's pretty much good against basically everything. But overall, guys, I am very impressed by the new Gladiator Beast supports. Konami gave them an excellent Link monster. They gave them some new good main deck monsters, a solid fusion. These cards work with the older cards, and I want to see exactly, how good Gladiator Beast can be. But whatever Whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.